There we go. Okay, for some odd reason, I could not get like my box to show up on screen. It was being weird. I actually had to refresh at like last second, so I was kind of panicking. You know what I'm saying? Then my dog started being weird because somebody rang my doorbell, and by somebody it was the mailman. So I had something sent to the house, that goes along with my business. That's kind of important. It's a priority shipping, so it needs for me to sign. Who does that when it comes to envelope? I do. Why? Because I'm paranoid. I'm the type of person that if you send me a gift card or a debit card or it's something I really, really want to get, I want to make sure that you look me in the eye when you hand that to me. Don't just drive off. I don't want to go to the post office. I don't trust y'all. You know what I'm saying? I there's sometimes like it's kind of like parents. For those that grew up in the Black community, your mail in the house that you live in ain't really your mail. That's how I feel about the post office. I don't really trust that they gonna not touch my mail. You know what I'm saying? That's completely besides the point. So my box is up. We're good. I'm not panicking. I got my ginger ale. I got my sneaks on. I got my orange beanie on. We're going to have a good day. It's cold still. It's brisk outside. In the state of Maryland, it was 28 degrees this morning. You know, that kind of cold, like when you like you wake up and you hear things in your body that shouldn't have cracked. Like I felt like my sternum crack. I don't even have nothing really too much to crack here. Like my bird chest hurt when I woke up this morning. Like I shrugged my shoulders 2 times. I felt this bone in my chest crack. That don't make no doggone sense. My chesticles hurt after I cracked my chest. It was ridiculous. Let's see. And when it's like so cold, and like if you ever been in a really, really cold house where it's so cold when you step on the carpet, you can hear it. That's how cold it was in the house. I was like, why is this so cold? Good Lord. And my dog is cuddled up by my shoes. My dog sheds like a white girl in a windstorm. So like he's snuggled up on my suede shoes. There's hair all over my suede shoes. It's absolutely ridiculous. I didn't really appreciate it. But I get it. He was chilling too. You know what I'm saying? But today, guys, we're going to have a good day. I just feel that, you know what I'm saying? I just pray that everybody is having a good day. And if you're not having a good day, I pray it gets better. This should be fun. This should be fruitful. I will be here 2 times today. I got 2 interviews today. I got one with somebody I consider like my best friend in this space. You know what I'm saying? She's my low maintenance bestie in this space and everything like that. But before I give her flowers and pick on her a little bit on screen, let me drop the intro real quick so I can get myself ready to pontificate my point with y'all this morning. All right, T. They threw my ancestors in the ocean. Now we became the new wave, and we're about to drown this system. Every time I go in, every time I go in. Welcome, everybody, to the Kid Casper podcast. I'm your gracious, beautiful, blessed, beloved, and black host, the kid that they call Casper. The KID in Kid Casper stands for that king of development. I'm that menace with the melanin. Reject me as I am, as long as he's still relevant. And somebody texted me and asked, where did I get this scarf from? This scarf cost me like $25 at the thrift store. It's a bandana with a zebra on it. You know what I'm saying? I can't help that my style is just a little bit better than most people's. And I'm sorry that your mom dresses like the white people that they put on displays in houses, even though it's owned by a black family. So it doesn't get lower or praised because of institutional racism. That's besides the point. If this is your first time tuning in today, hello, I'm that quirky kid that they call Casper. Yes, I have an orange beanie on. Yes, I have a zebra coated, not zebra coated. I hope they didn't kill a zebra to make this. It feels, I hope not. That would be unfortunate. Y'all know what it is. Taco enthusiast. I am a Christian raptivist. You know what I'm saying? Rapper / activist. I love Jesus. Super far from a pacifist. Ghostthreads.com. That's how we pay the bills around here. And Yeah, we're gonna have fun this morning. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited. This is probably, if not one of my favorite people to talk to. I'm just gonna say that people, because sometimes I don't like talking to God. Sometimes I'm frustrated with God and I gotta yell at God sometimes. And you know what? Because you know what, it just is what it is. This is the one person that's not allowed to leave me on red personally, but I get it because we're both busy. We have a connection because both of our names start with the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Both of us being Jordans and everything like that. This is not only, a social media influencer. I consider an activist in whatever space she's in. As a Black woman in America, as a double minority, I feel like you're born to be an activist, a feminist, a revolutionary, just by, for necessity to survive in this country. You know what I'm saying? Insightful, thought-provoking, fashionista, can I just say, you know what I'm saying? All the snaps, all the vibes. I'm just gonna go and say that, like, she, you know what I'm saying, she'd probably make this orange beanie look better than me. That's besides the point. But above all these titles, she is a daughter, she is a sister, she is a friend, family. To me, I consider everybody. Welcome to the screen from, I believe, North Kakalakis. Jordxn Simone, how you doing today? How you doing today, sis?
Hey, it's good to be back. It's been a while. It's been a minute, so it's good to be back.
It's been a good minute. I'm first off, I'd like to say thank you for accepting my invitation. I think I was thinking about this earlier, and I was texting somebody like right before we went live. I was like, it's so funny, like how like the people I've met in this space, how they've like become family like very quickly, just from like the little bit of encounters, just sharing spaces together. Me never thinking that I would gain a sister out of hitting you up, be like, hey, can we talk about how much white supremacy sucks? You know what I'm saying? Can we do that real quick? But it's been a minute, but it's like worth the wait, all in the same. So, but other than that, how are you doing today? I mean, we talked a little bit behind the scenes, but tell everybody that hasn't seen you in a while on the Casper podcast, how you doing today?
Yeah, so I'm doing all right. House is a little messy, been pretty busy. For those who don't know, I am in grad school, and that is like an all-encompassing, full-time lifestyle choice, in all honesty. So I'm good. I'm on the upswing. I was really busy for a while, really tired, had a lot of papers to do, had a lot of poems to write, just kind of like getting my footing. But I think I'm on the upswing. I'm excited for Thanksgiving. I'm excited for Christmas. I'm excited for winter break, so that maybe I can get back to hanging out with you and doing social media and my activism, which I kind of had to put on pause for a second while I was adjusting. But it's good to be back. More than anything, I'm just happy to feel like I have some grounding and feel stable. So I'm on the upswing.
All right. Well, we'll get into that. Especially the importance of talking about just like taking a break and everything like that. But yeah. So my first question, and I don't know if I ever asked you these series of questions, and I don't really remember your answers. So I'm just gonna treat you like everybody else gets treated, essentially. You're still special. You still hold a special little J-sized hole in my heart. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta get it like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So for those that do not know you, because I think you're kind of a big deal personally, but for those that do not know who Jordxn Simone is, if you can give us like an elevator's pitch to who it is to be Jordxn Simone, the screen is yours. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a North Carolinian native. So you were right. I'm from North Carolina. I started TikTok about this time last year. I was part of the whole like no nuance November craze. And it really took off when I was talking about how to be a better white ally. If there's such thing as a good white ally, if it's better to be an accomplice. And I kind of shifted into talking about other facets of oppression. I got really into body positivity for a while. I actually have a minor from undergrad in feminism, women's and gender studies. So that kind of scooped in. So at this point, I talk about intersectionality and how we can look at oppression from a bunch of different lenses and how they all kind of overlap to form each person's unique experience and what privilege is and how you have privilege and it doesn't make you bad. And the whole gambit of things. And when I'm not doing that, I am a poet. That's why I'm currently in grad school, so I can get my master's in poetry. It's been a ride. I'm very grateful for it. It's been a huge learning experience. So I'm a poet. I am in modeling school. So if you see me on any covers of anything soon, look out. Otherwise, I am tired. I read a lot. I don't sleep enough.
You were like, today my personality trait is tired. Like,
it is.
I retweet. I felt that. I
am burnt. That's the thing about Fridays is I don't have to go to my job because on campus I work in the writing center. And otherwise I work at home helping students apply to college. But their major deadlines were all due on Monday. So I had the big push. I went to work every day. I help my students every day. And for once I can just chill and just sit. So I'm not going to sit. I'm actually going to like wash my dishes finally. And it's going to be great.
Good Lord. It was like, okay, I got to do dishes. The only way I can eat my Reese's Puffs is I got butter knives. Oh crap. It's time to be an adult today. Gotcha. And so my next intense grilling question, and I'm like I said, I don't know if I asked you these questions. So like I said, you're going to have to get it. We believe in equal opportunity around here. You know what I'm saying? If you had to pick a favorite Disney princess, what Disney princess would that be?
Bro, okay. So I'm actually a huge Disney fan. So if I had to pick my personal favorite Disney princess at the immediate moment, it would be Rapunzel from Tangled. I just find her really relatable. That being said, I think my favorite princess of all time is probably Belle, just because at this age, I've probably seen Beauty and the Beast pushing 30 times. And when I was little, I was like, oh, she likes to read. I like to read. Perfect. That's the game. So I think those two would be my favorites of all time. But if you ever want to talk Disney, I'm your girl. I love Disney. Just up here. I probably got like 4 pairs of mouse ears somewhere in this apartment.
Four?
Yeah,
Four
I love
pairs?
Yeah. I love Disney. And my ex used to work at Disney. And so I'd go, when I visit him, we'd go to Disney and I'd get a new pair of ears. So somewhere in this, there are mouse ears.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that makes me feel semi better because I always thought you were cooler than me, but never mind.
Huge Disney nerd.
Gotcha. And now I'm really curious because I don't like to make assumptions when it comes to people. My next intense grilling question is, if you had to pick a starter 6 Pokemon set, what starting 6 would that be?
I don't know their names well enough. I always worried about this question and it was going to be my time to shine someday, and I never brushed up. I remember Charmander. I remember Squirtle. Jigglypuff is my favorite. I would have to choose Pikachu. Mewtwo, I think, the big one. I really like that one. And I like the one that looks like a fox and it can turn into like different elementals. And so like
Eevee.
Eevee, yes, I love Eevee. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a very, I don't know too much else. I did the Pokemon Go summer, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I just like being outside. So
yeah, can we talk about Pokemon Go for a second? That had white children doing the most weirdest stuff. Like I used to work at 7-Eleven at the time back in 2016. I was a manager at 7-Eleven. So I'd be working overnight and be little white children walking around my parking lot. Be like, man, somebody already owns this gym. I'm like, nigga, what gym? This is a parking lot. Why are you here? And he's like, man, Team Instinct. I was like, what do you mean? Like, what is happening right now? He's like, this is playing Pokemon Go. And I'm like, I'm needing the Pokemon, get the hell out of my damn parking lot. Why are you here? Like, it's 2:00 in the morning. Aren't you like 12? Go home. He's like, oh, my dad's actually getting gas. What the hell? And his dad's like, yeah, we had to get gas. We've been driving around all night. I'm like, why?
You gotta catch them all, bro. You gotta catch them all.
I just,
Yeah, I
anyway,
had like that, but I did a lot of like, in the graveyards. I was like, all right.
the bad part is Michelle Obama has been trying to end childhood obesity, and it took a phone app. That's all I gotta say. I'm very upset about that.
Make it fun.
But
you just got to make it fun. Like, it's exercise is fun when you're not thinking about it. It's the thinking about it that sucks.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I mean, I have turbulence in everything I wear. You know, nothing ever just grabs me. You know what I'm saying?
There.
And graveyards too. Whoever deep shaded glasses guy is, yeah, they're because I worked across the street from a funeral home, so there'd be little white children walking around parking lot, like.
Yeah, they were everywhere. Like, one of my friends like jumped the fence to catch I can't remember which one it was, but he went to catch one and he jumped the fence into the graveyard. I was like, have you lost your Negro mind? Get back here. It was wild.
No, absolutely not. Like, and you knew what time it was, because when them street lights was on, and the fact that it was like black people like, nah, I don't care if there's a Me Too outside. I'm
back in the house when it gets dark. I have no business outside.
This generational trauma will keep me in the house, but that's besides the point. Before we get too depressing on here, so Queen Jordxn, because you know what I'd like to do, since I've started this podcast, you know, I originally started this for the purpose of, like, you know, interviewing different artists, producers and stuff like that I've become acquainted to over time. After, you know, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd, I felt like there was this conviction in my spirit to not only provide social commentary to what I see happening in the world, but also allow people to humanize certain people. Because, you know, it's very easy, especially being people of color. Well, for us, we're not really people of color because we've never been valued as even people, let alone be recognized for our color nowadays in this society. But especially for us as descendants of African descent, you know, I like to humanize us as content creators. It's cool to get to know our content, but it's one thing to even know the creator, but then to get to know the human and understand the human experience behind the content creator. So if you could, my sister, as far back as you can remember, tell us about the early stages of development of a young Queen Jordxn.
Ooh.
The screen is yours.
Gosh, she was a nerd. She's still a nerd, but she's pulled it together. I guess my earliest memories are all reading. I've always loved to read. I always loved to write. One of my like foundational memories is in elementary school. I wrote a story about a wedding because I love to read and I love to love. And my teacher was like, this is so great. And she laminated it and she took it on the road with her for a while. And I think my mom still has it. And it was just one of those moments where it was like, oh, this is something I like to do. This is something I'm good at. This is something I want to do. And I love to read. I joined the reading team in 5th grade, which sounds silly, but it was called Battle of the Books. And we competitively read for all intents and purposes. We read like 20 to 30 books and then answered questions about 20 to 30 books in this big county competition. And I did that from 5th grade until I was a senior in high school. So that was pretty foundational. And then sometime in middle schoolish, I went from being really shy and a bit of a crybaby and didn't know how to stand up for myself. And then one day I went to a school that like just really appreciated the fact that I was smart without making me feel weird about it. Because like I was always been smart, but everybody was always, it was either weird that I was smart because I didn't talk like other Black people, or they could use my brains to their advantage. And so it felt really isolating. And then in middle school, I went to, I guess like an advanced school, and it was just filled with other like weird nerds. And it was really nice. And so I kind of became this, I guess, like little baby leader. And I started coaching the Battle of the Books team. And I started giving tours around the school. And I was in the talent show. And I realized I really, really loved to sing. So that kind of killed the stage fright right then and there. And then by high school, I realized I like to be in charge. I like to call the shots. So I was calling the shots and still reading, still writing, still singing, but I was in a lot more leadership positions. And then, I don't know, it just kind of took off from there. I like to think I've always been really nice. More than being nice, I like to think that I'm kind. but like I'm learning how to establish good boundaries. I'm pretty solid at conflict mediation. Just I like to be empathetic to people. I'm a people person, which sucks because I'm kind of introverted, but I am a big people person. I like to make people happy. I like to
Girl, I
spend
feel that so strong.
so,
I tell people all the time, I am a social vegan and I avoid meat. MEET. I'm like that. So I completely understand.
My friends we hung out yesterday, and when they left, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna be so sad. And I literally closed the door and was like, thank God. Like I'm so tired. But I just think, I guess my big things are that I like to think that I am smart, and I like to think that I am empathetic. And I guess I care about other people. And that kind of pushed me into like the social activism sphere, because I was like, yeah, like I have my struggles as a Black woman, but seeing other Black women struggle who didn't have like the privileges I had. My parents worked really hard to protect me in this bubble, which, you know, pros and cons, highs and lows. But seeing the world around me as I got older and like pushed, I was like, dang, there are things that should be done and nobody's doing it. So I guess that's me. And so now we're here reading and writing, and instead of singing so much, I talk on TikTok a lot.
Gotcha. So there was something that you said earlier when you were talking about the early stages of your development. I think it was middle school. You said that you felt like boxed in a sense when you were saying like you didn't talk like other Black people, and then you also felt like you could be smart but not to be like, I guess, like to somebody else's standards. Can you talk a little bit about, I would say, like, especially in your existence, because like I said, you know, like as you said, you know, the Black experience is not a monolithic experience. Can you speak a little bit about what that meant to be recognized as an individual opposed to the collected sum, if that makes sense?
Yeah. It was a weird existence. Because in some ways it was like when I went to church, I went to a Black church. And a lot of people spoke.
I appreciate you making that distinction for those that are watching.
Went to a Black church. And a lot of people spoke in AAVE, especially the kids. And I was a kid, but I, you know, didn't watch the Medea movies. I think I've seen maybe one to completion.
Like as an adult, as a functioning human being right now, like
I've seen like one to completion.
The like, Black experience is not a monolithic experience. Continue.
Yeah, my mom kept me from as a kid, and then as I got older, I was just like, I have no interest because it was never. Now I did see one. I saw. I think it was the first one, maybe. I don't know. I did a podcast with a friend once, and she was like, "You have to watch it. That's what we're talking about." And I was like, "Okay." But I didn't see a lot of Medea movies. I didn't listen to secular music for a while. And when I did, I was really into white girl pop. I'm still really into white girl pop. I didn't speak in AAVE. And so they were always kind of picking on me because I was like the white girl. And I was like, I'm not white. I'm one of the darkest people in this room, which why would you say that to me? But at the same time, white people were like, oh, you're a good one. Like, you're smart and you're well-spoken and you're doing your homework. And yeah, like one day in high school, I had a teacher pull aside, me and about two other Black girls. And he pulled us aside. He was a white guy. He was sweet as a concept. But he was like, hey, you guys are doing really well in class. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? Flunk out? Like, what do you mean? And he was like, how can you encourage the other Black boys to do better? And I was like, huh? And he was like, what motivates you to do well in school so that you can motivate them to do well in school? And I'm like, bro, your class ain't even hard. Like, nothing's motivating me. I'm just doing it. I don't know what to tell you.
Yo.
Yeah, he's wild.
The microaggressions. Oh my gosh. How old were you when this was going on?
15, I think. I was like 15. I would give it a swing around that age.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was right when I was like figuring out, not figuring out racism, but like when I was old enough to really get it. And yeah, I don't know why it was my responsibility. It wasn't. And yet it was charged upon the three of us, especially me, because, you know, big brains. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And honestly, it's not my responsibility to figure it out. But I didn't know how to handle it because I had never been in that kind of situation before on my own. Like usually like my mom worked at my elementary school, and then in middle school I had like a clique of just people of color that were nerds. And then in high school I was kind of for a couple of years more or less flying solo. And so it was just me versus this white teacher that I had who wanted me to hype up my classmates, which, is fine, except it was not fine. So somewhere between A and B of being not Black enough because I read lots of books and Teen Titans was my favorite show and I could quote like all of half the Disney movies made, and being the token Black, it was weird. So like finding myself as an individual who was comfortable took until college.
That's got to be, I guess, like the next question I have is like, and and I started asking this question, I would say like halfway through this year, because it's really, really easy, especially in our existence very early on in childhood, to kind of lose sight of that. And you probably heard about me talk about this. Like I realized what it meant to be Black in America as early as 5, because I was whistling around my uncle, and he was like, "You better stop all that whistling, especially if there's white folk around. You're gonna end up like your cousin Emmett." I'm like, "Who the hell is Emmett?" And then he told me about Emmett Till at 5, and I was just like, "Oh, okay. Don't even know how to ride a bike yet, but sure." Traumatized me. 5 years old. When for you did you find out? Not even so much that you were Black, because you probably look at yourself in the mirror and just like, "Wow, I'm Black." But when did you know what that meant? Like what age were you when you realized like what it meant to be Black in this country?
I think I was in the 2nd grade, and I remember I was hanging out with a couple of the white girls at my elementary school, and like we were hanging out, holding hands, and just goofing off like children do. And then one day my mom was like, "Don't get too attached to them," and I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "Well, you're like their token Black friend. Like they're gonna replace you someday. You're not one of them. You're just like neat to them." And I was like, "What are you talking about? These are my friends." And she explained to me what it meant to be the token Black person and what it meant to be like one of the very few Black people in a space, and how white people kind of borderline fetishize that or try to use you for some type of social capital. And she was like, "Jordan, when you go to like their birthday parties or their neighborhoods, you're not going to see a bunch of people who look like you. It's just going to be you. And you need to figure that out and be comfortable in that." And I was like, "Why would you say that to me?" And as I got older, I appreciate it as a theory. I think it was a little unnecessary at the time, but I appreciate it long term, because then I did. Well, one of my friends is like that, but the other friend I still talk to like to this day. In fact, today. But in middle school, I made a friend, and we've been friends for like a decade. But it occurred to me in the beginning of the pandemic, that she wasn't really my friend. She was using me as social capital because I was Black. Because we had some fights over the years, and in retrospect, she was always replacing me with another Black girl. And when she get in a fight with that girl, she'd come back to me. And it took me until the pandemic to like really sit down and process that, because like I had my own life in the middle and like wasn't thinking about her too much. But then one day I was like, I cut my hair, and she was like, "What did you do to your hair? It looks like a pineapple." And I was like, that was the moment. I was like, you're done.
Boy, whoo!
You're done.
I
was like, okay. Because like she'd been really microaggressive in the past, but like in middle school, I didn't really like, I was like, "Why would you say that to me? Like that's a stupid thing to say." And she'd laugh, or she'd take it personally. We wouldn't talk for a little while. And I don't know. I always felt like she was trying, so it was okay. But then I was like, I'm 22 at the time. Yeah, I was like, I'm 22. I don't need this. Like, you're not doing anything for me. You're not serving me at all. We're not even friends by proxy at this point. I haven't seen you in a year. Like, I don't need this relationship. So in retrospect, I'm glad my mom did tell me, even though she told me when I might have been a wee bit too young to really understand. But after that, I could track it. But I actually tracked being not Black enough before I really understood the implications of racism, which is a weird backwards way to exist. So
it's funny that you needed to learn like space etiquette very early, and I don't think people realize. And just like you said, though it is too early, it's in a lot of ways you have to adopt, especially when we're talking about just the Black existence, to like preserve and nurture Blackness. We need to adopt some sense of militant like posture while navigating through these spaces. Did a part of you feel like when you were told that you were like, so am I just not allowed to be a kid anymore? Is that what it is?
Yeah, like I don't say that was the day I grew up, because my mom's always said I'm like 30 from birth. Like she was like, I want you to play with toys. And I was like, I want to read a book. And she's like, play with the Barbies I bought you. And I'm like, how do I play with Barbies? And she's like, what do you mean? How do you play? So I guess I've always been kind of grown up-ish. But that was the day I was like, every space that I'm in, people are going to see me as Black, and there's stigma attached to that. And when I was really little, I was like, I don't want to be the stigma. I was like, I don't want to be like the stupid Black girl. I don't want that. And so I worked really hard to make being smart like a big part of my identity. And as I got older, I was like, let's unlearn that. Like, I'm smart because I like to learn, not because I need to like outsmart the other Black people. Like, that's a bad way to exist. But at first, that's kind of how it felt when I was in elementary school. I was like, okay, so there's the pretty Black girl who was my best friend. There's her best friend who was not me. And then there's the smart friend or the smart girl. And I was like, I'm the smart Black girl. And that will be my identity until I die. And then they cannot rope me into, oh, you're going to be a thug, or you're going to be addicted to drugs, or you're going to not go anywhere. You're not going to. And then I got older and was like, dang, that was actually kind of awful of me to exist in that weird mode of defense. But it was defense at the expense of my own people. And so navigating that kind of, I don't say it robbed my childhood, but it did shape it in a really big way.
That's probably when you realize that, oh man, I just had anti-Blackness instilled in me very early.
Yeah, like super. I had anti-Blackness instilled in me really early in the game. Like I was learning bad things about Black people by at least kindergarten. Like I just remember my mom being like, yeah, Black people are always late. We can't be like that. We can't, 'cause she has a lot of that in her too, which she'll work through someday. But that was like, oh God, Black people are always late. I can't be late. Don't want to be like that. Don't want to do like this. Don't want to be like that. Don't want to do that. Can't do that. And it drove me bonkers. And then I was like, Black people are, number one, not all like that. And number two, even if we are, then what about it? And number three, are we going to look at the institutions that build those kinds of, I guess, stereotypes? Like if you associate Black people with poverty, why? And so one day I just asked her, I was like, Mom, why do you think that? And she was like, well, there's so many homeless Black people. And I was like, and there are homeless white people. Do you want to talk about it? Yes, no. She was like, another day, Jordan. And so we actually did have that talk one day, but I was in my 20s. I'm in my 20s.
And you were probably fed up at that point. It's just like you.
Oh yeah, I had enough. I hit my limit. I'm like, I'm doing all this unpacking, and here you are trying to repackage the box I unpacked. What is wrong with you?
That's hilarious. I mean, it's not funny, like, haha, like this is just the existence, but I definitely get that. I think there's one thing that you and me talked about, especially when we're talking about space etiquette and not so much even knowing your place because you don't want to be boxed in, but can you speak, and you and me have talked about this numerous times. When we're talking about like the Black existence and we're talking about nurturing our Blackness, and how nurturing our Blackness can literally mean life or death for us and for other people. Meaning like your Blackness sometimes doesn't even belong to you, because what you do in your life may even affect how other people view Black people. When we're talking about white people, because they think that one of us act like everybody else. They see one of us popping gum and listening to Lil Jon, and we all listen to Lil Jon and you know what I'm saying? And then like, but then there's other people, like there's people like a Childish Gambino, Barack Obama, there's a Jay-Z. The how we come out, just like in different shades, we come out with our own personalities. Talk to me a little bit about the importance of making your Blackness your own, also while not policing other people on their own blackness?
Ooh, I think the hardest part for me has not been policing other Black people, especially when Black people fit like the stereotype, which I hate to say, but it's like, oh, Black person listen to rap music. And it took me a while to not be like typical. Like, and then I was like, why am I thinking that? Like, why am I saying that? But at the same time, I think coming out of that had to came with me being comfortable with myself. And so when I stopped using my identity as like a barrier and used it as like a gateway, it became a lot easier. It's like Black people can do whatever they want. And what they want to do is listen to rap music. And what I want to do is listen to Paramore. And we're still Black because we're still Black. And it doesn't really matter what they do with their Blackness or what I do with my Blackness. It just is, because we're people who like things. And in doing so, I realized that I like rap music, at least some of it. Megan Thee Stallion is like my favorite person on earth. And I don't think a 15-year-old Jordxn would have been prepared for that. But a 23 going on 24-year-old Jordxn can absolutely be prepared for that. And so I think coming into my own identity as a Black girl whose AVE is like a second language as opposed to my primary language. So sometimes I'm like, it feels weird coming out of my mouth, but like it's mine. And okay. And then I still watch Teen Titans. I was watching Avatar: The Last Airbender like this past week. I like murder documentaries and I read a lot of books and I write a lot of poetry. And that's me, and that's okay. And my friend, one of my really good friends, she's into cinema and she works in Atlanta and she's living her dreams. And then I have my other friend who made me watch the Medea movie and definitely listens to rap music. And she's like a loud Black girl, but she's not a loud Black girl. She's just enthusiastic as a human. So I think looking at myself and how I fit in a multifaceted Black existence has been, I don't want to say like they go hand in hand. Like my acceptance of other Black people as independent people came with me accepting myself as an independent person.
Say that. I feel that. I think for me, it took me, and I said this on one of my shout out to Maya, another North Carolina native. I was on her podcast the other day. I was saying like it was easier for me it's easier for me to tell people about myself once I get to know myself. So for me, when I talk about my Blackness, it's easier for me to embrace other people's Blackness once I stepped into a place where I can embrace my own. And I think that's where you have to somehow tap into that sense of self-love that you can have that for yourself. So I definitely feel that. Absolutely. I think that there's something that you said very briefly, and I wanted to touch on it because I think that this is super necessary when we're talking about the Black existence and, you know, I would say like the difference between living, surviving, and thriving. You said that you, as an activist, had to stop being an activist. And even though I opened up and said that, you know, as the Black woman, you're a double minority, you have to be an activist, feminist, all these other things because of as a necessity to survive. Talk to me about like what that is for you, like, and also not even so much you need to explain yourself, why you took a break as an activist and the importance behind it. Because I always quote you, like people, they be like, man, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm taking my book bag off. Like, why are you taking your book bag off? I'm like, shut up and mind your business. I'm taking my book bag off.
Like, are you paying my bills? Are you carrying the backpack? No, then shut up. It's heavy, that's why.
Absolutely. But talk a little bit about not only why you took a break and why do you think it is almost as important to fight, while fighting this good fight, to know when to stop fighting, to fight the good fight. Talk about that for me a little bit.
Yeah. And so in my, I guess, perception of activism, it's a very active thing, which sounds silly, but it's a choice that you make consistently. And the way that I do activism is through social media. And I had to pump the brakes on that for a little bit. Life was getting very hectic. after Micaiah Bryant, I like hit a point where I just couldn't anymore, the way that I couldn't keep going the way I had been going. And so I took a brief pause. And in doing so, I found that I was so all encompassed in being an activist and being a spokesperson and putting myself out there all the time that I was missing out on some other little things. So like I took a brief hiatus and fell in love. And then I came back and talked some more. And then I took a hiatus and went to grad school. And what I'm learning, or I guess what I knew and is being reinforced, is that my activism never stops because I'm always Black and somebody's always going to say something stupid. And you can either choose to pick up the mantle of saying something back or leaving it alone. And there is value in leaving it alone. Like if you're not safe, don't say anything. If you just aren't in the mood, don't say anything. But I've learned, especially as a Black woman in a lot of mostly white spaces, as a lot of the arts are very white dominated, I couldn't just sit there and not speak forever. And so I learned that while my activism in terms of like the active going out, making content, talking to all these people, answering DMs needed to be on hold, it was so that I could stand up for the things I needed to stand up in my literal real life lived human existence that I wasn't living because I was so wrapped up in the mechanics of being a quote unquote activist. And so I think it's more that my activism didn't stop entirely. It was more, it shifted to be more me centric. And so it was like, how do I stand up for myself? And by proxy, other Black queer women in my own life, as opposed to just online. And that meant, you know, challenging my professor on something or bringing up racism in the book that we're reading, because that's a lot of the books that we read for some reason.
Rumor has it.
If I read one more trauma book, I can't even say that the next book we're reading is about like Indigenous trauma. But I'm like, if I read one more trauma book this semester, I'm going to lose it. Like, I'm just going to drop. Which is something me and my friends have been talking about. But I realized to be able to go to grad school and have those conversations, I couldn't have them online and in person at the same time, 24/7, because then what do? Like, I go home and like stare at the ceiling and cry. And when I figured out that was what was happening, I was like, one or the other needs to be a priority. And right now I want it to be school. Now I'm kind of over school and can go back to social media where I'm kind of the happiest, but you just got to adapt to your needs at the moment, because you're never going to stop being a person of color. You're never going to stop being Black. I'm never going to stop being a woman. I'm never going to stop being queer. And with all those things in my pocket, it's like, how do I choose to respond to the world around me to accommodate my own mental and emotional needs?
I think something that you said that was so important. You said that to be an like you didn't stop being an activist. You just shifted your activism to you. I think I've never heard anybody say it just like that, meaning like nurturing your Blackness in itself in this white world, in this patriarchal society for you as the Black woman, you know, nurturing you or shifting your activism to you as an individual in itself, existing and taking care of you is activism. I need you to unpack that and dive into that, because I feel like that could be liberating for somebody. Go ahead. Come on, Queen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's more like my survival is an act of resistance, but my success.
Whew, girl, you about to have me kick my shoes off for 1 o'clock in the man. Go ahead.
Being alive is a gift, and being alive and stable is a gift. But my responsibility to myself is to not just survive. My responsibility to myself is to thrive. And in doing so, sometimes it means that I have to put that energy into my own needs. Like, I would love to sit on TikTok and answer every question that comes in my DMs. I finally caught up, but I'd love to do that. But at what point does asking white people's questions 24/7 take a toll on myself? Because it's not really serving me if, like, cool, I told a person how to not be a jerk, but unfortunately I didn't tell the person who's being a jerk to me. So now I have to go contend with them and I'm sad now. That's not fair to me. And in all honesty, it's not fair to the other spheres that I want to show up in. And so I think it became super important for me to know when to take the backpack off entirely, when to switch arms, and kind of when to switch bags. Like, my heavy activism backpack needed to be switched out for a cute, large laptop bag so that I could take it to school. And I couldn't take all of the tools with me all the time. I needed to focus on the tools that I needed in this space at that time. And it's a lighter bag, which I appreciate. It's very Jordxn centric. It has the books that I like to read. It has the resources that I always go to. And it has like my favorite snacks in it, I guess. And that's what I needed to survive, and not just to survive, but to thrive. Because I was surviving. I was doing just fine. I was sad and tired, but I was fine. And I was like, I don't want to just be fine. Like, I don't want the next 2 years of my life to be fine. I want to be happy and successful. So I put some energy into finding friends who made me feel not like I was the token Black person, not like I was the person being spoken over, not like I was the representative. They were just like, I like to hang out with Jordxn because Jordxn's cool. Cool. So I found some friends like that. And then I was like, I need to challenge my professors. I don't need to fight some guy on the internet for 2 hours. I need to talk to my professor about what they said in class today. And so that's where I put that energy. And now I can say that I don't want to drop out of grad school anymore, which is a really good feeling. I don't want to abandon my dreams because they feel useless. I'm learning how to shape the sphere that I'm in to accommodate me. And now that I'm learning how to do that, I can now go back to helping other people. So I guess it more so comes from, I can't pour from an empty cup, and a refusal to let my cup be empty. Because if I let my cup empty, then I have more or less let them win. I don't want that.
And then not even that, it's you taking your activism and focusing on you is also teaching other people how to love you. And I think that is super important when we're talking about like nurturing our Blackness, is if they don't see you nurturing your own Blackness, how are they going to know to protect and preserve your Blackness? And I think that in itself, and I love how you said it just like that. I heard somebody else say it. I had this woman on here, this Colombian woman a couple months ago. Her name was Joe Lumen. She said, us just living is an act of resistance. And so when you said that, I was like, see, too many women in my life are woke with a Coke with light ice. I can't. I cannot. Absolutely. So I'm curious, and I'm just thinking about this right now because you've always been somebody that is gone against the grain to some sense. But I think that is kind of, I don't even want to say typical. It's just very Jordxn Simone of you, I would say. And I'm curious about, and I think, because it's really hard to kind of explain your thoughts in these little, the maximum 3-minute clips, unless you've done it already. You made a TikTok, I would say maybe like within the last 2 weeks. And you said, the point of feminism is not to throw men away. And that got people pissed off in your comment section. I was like, what?
It did happen.
But is that the goal? But I'm just being nosy. I don't like to say anything when I be seeing in people's comment section. I'm just like, it's how you not get mass reported, essentially, by going ham in somebody's comment section. But you were saying, not to misquote you, so I'll say, like, to the extent of being a feminist doesn't mean leaving men behind. It just means, like, you're basically telling us, like, we need to deconstruct what it means to be a man in this society, but we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, you didn't use these words. I'm just using, like, paraphrasing for context purposes. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater just because the baby grew up in that bathwater. Could you dive deep on that? What you meant on like that stance when you said, not even so much the stance. I think that, hopefully, I'm not going to tell you what it means to be a feminist as a man. That'd be mansplaining. But dive deep on that. What you meant by the point of feminism is not to leave and throw men away. Talk to me a little bit.
Yeah. So I think this is what trips people up about feminism, is that it starts with femme, and people think that because women are involved, it means we must hate men. And that's not it. That word is called misandry. And I've recently learned a lot of people don't think it exists, which is wild, but a talk for later. Feminism is about equality. It's like sandcastles. You don't want to take someone's sandcastle. You don't want there to be a sandcastle. You just want sand, and you want everybody to be equal. And it's kind of like there's a machine going around building sandcastles for men. However, that machine will roll men over while building them a sandcastle. This weird beach machine.
Whoa. Tired of you. I'm tired of you dropping bombs. I can only mute myself to throw my shoes so much. Come here. Another 30 seconds. I need you to repeat that one more time. That sandcastle analogy. They missed that. Go ahead. Go ahead. I know they missed it. Go ahead.
It's like the goal of feminism is that you're at the beach and there are these sandcastles, and the only people who can play with sandcastles are men. And it's like, I want to play at the sandcastle, but you don't really. You just want there to be sand that you can like touch and go play with and have fun. People think that feminism is advocating for women to have the sandcastles and not men. Feminism is to flatten the sandcastles. No sandcastles, just sand. Everybody has a good time. There's a machine going around building sandcastles for men. It's not men necessarily. There's a machine, a man-shaped machine, going around building sandcastles exclusively for men. They are running over men in the process. That big machine is just bulldozing over men in the process. So like, yeah, they get to play in the sandcastle, but they're covered in like bumps and bruises and scrapes and cuts. And people think that because they get to play in the sandcastle, there are no injuries, no side effects, no nothing. It's like, oh, well, you got the sandcastle, so you're fine. And it's like, yeah, he got the sandcastle and now he's crying all the time. Because if he's not crying, he's punching holes in the sandcastle because he has no emotional regulation, because we didn't teach him that. We didn't give him the tools to function as a person. We gave him the tools to function as the thing that the machine built. So the goal of feminism is to take the machine down and to kick down the sandcastles. The goal of feminism is to not do a role reversal there. And I think that's the thing that people missed, especially in my comment section that day, because it's not about leaving men in the dust. Men have a set of issues that come with the patriarchy, because the patriarchy strips of us, all of us, of a certain element of humanity. And the systems that the patriarchy put in place hurt women. Like, the systems structurally hurt women, but they also hurt men. Like, while the idea that being emotional and crying all the time is feminine and weak and stupid, and maybe that's why people think that women shouldn't be in politics because we cry too much. Sure. Impacting women. Because of that mindset, men aren't allowed to cry. Men aren't allowed to feel things. Men aren't allowed to emote and express themselves, which leads to higher suicide rates. It just does. It leads to eating disorders going undiagnosed. It leads to self-harm going through the roof. And instead of acknowledging it as like self-harm, it's like, oh, he just likes to drink and party on the weekends. It's like, he's been drinking every night for 2 weeks and playing video games until 6 a.m. He's not good. He's trying to escape. He's not good. And we didn't give him the language to be good. And so people feel like we should just throw men away. But we can't just throw men away, because men are people. We need to, in saving ourselves, we also have to save men. And it's a rare stance to have to, like, your own safety or your own success comes with helping your oppressor. It's a weird take, and I can see why people have a lot of pushback to it. But like, in this circumstance, if we want like abuse rates to go down, to an extent, we have to teach men how to cope. And it's not their fault that no one taught them how to cope, because the patriarchy said, don't do that. And so we don't do that. And I think women oftentimes forget our role in that. Like, I have guy friends in my life who are like, I'm like, why are you so angry? And he's like, well, I'm upset. I'm like, okay, we can just talk about it. Or do you need to cry? And they'll be like, no, I don't need to cry. My mom told me that crying is stupid. My mom told me crying is for women. My mom told me this. My mom told me that. And I'm like, so we are perpetuating our own cycles of harm because we don't think men are harmed in these cycles. And it's coming back to bite us. Like, for once, we have a role in our own oppression, because we're not fighting men. We're fighting a machine. And I think people tend to forget that in feminism, because it's a little different than in like racism. In racism, it is when white people are ready to change their mind, that'll be the day that things can really start changing. And there are things that people of color can do, but like, we don't need to save white people to be successful. If they left us alone, it could easily be done. But in terms of feminism and the patriarchy, we need men just as much as men need us, because it's a very human sphere. Like, there's something about the patriarchy that robs us of a fundamental level of humanity across the board that doesn't happen in other forms of oppression. Like, usually in racism, it's like, okay, white people are up here, everybody else is down here. In the patriarchy, men are up here and women are down here, but something's weird's happening at the top. that's not really happening for white people or straight people. Nothing's happening to straight people. Straight people are at the top. Ain't nothing going wrong up here at the top. And then you have everybody else fighting for their life. But in the patriarchy, women are down here fighting for our life, and non-binary friends and trans friends. And up here, men are at the top, but they're fighting for their lives too. And that's not something that we really address, because I think it's so unique to the patriarchy in a lot of ways.
There was something you and me talking about this privately, and I said it publicly a couple months ago, and man, was it a hot take.
Yikers.
Somebody was telling me, so there was somebody asked me a question in my Q&A one time on TikTok. They're like, do you believe that all men deal with some sense, all black men? Do you believe all black men have a problem with finding, like, having some sense of like masculinity or adopting some sense of femininity? And I said, and I quote, and I remember you talked about this. I said, black men don't have a masculinity in this country. And they were like, what? I'm a man. There's so many. I'm like, brothers, y'all not hearing me. We don't have a masculinity. And a lot of that I've had to come to the realization myself. And you and me, I think you and me were texting each other to like sad boy hours, if I'm not mistaken. This is before you fell in love and abandoned me forever. But all good. But one of the things I was talking to you about, I was like, we were going back and forth, and I was telling you, like, I was barely taught how to be human growing up. How could anybody teach me how to be a man when I was barely taught how to be a human? So when I tell people black men don't have a masculinity in this country, is because we were barely allowed to be human. You know what I'm saying? Can you, and when you speak about like the patriarchy and like the detriment that the patriarchy has on people, it's kind of like, and I don't know if you can understand this, it's kind of like when we think of like people being like kidnapped, and captives are being like kidnapped. You want to rescue the captive, while you gotta realize that just because, and there's this quote I always use, I keep saying on my podcast, you could be removed from slavery or captivity in an instant, but it takes a lifetime to get the captivity and the slave and being enslaved in your mind removed as well.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that for us to like really dismantle the patriarchy is you have to take care, nurture, and seek the nuance of trying to understand the implications of why they're going to be like this, possibly the rest of their life. And that involves humanizing, as you said, that involves having to humanize even your oppressor, people that have wronged you, and try to understand why they are the way that they are. So I definitely understand, but it's so hard to get into all that in the comment section. So it's just like, I'm like, y'all think this is easy, just dropping bombs and just allowing y'all to just chew on that. No, not one bit. But yeah, I definitely got what you meant though.
Yeah, it's hard. It's I feel like it's really hard to just expect people to change overnight, because even if, like, it makes sense, you're angry, don't be angry, express it. Okay, cool. How am I supposed to stop the indoctrination that has happened? How am I supposed to keep you from not feeling all those ways crying when you've been taught consistently that crying is bad? And in regards to black men not having a masculinity, I think it's in the same vein that black women don't really have a femininity, because all of us were stripped of everything by virtue of racism. Like, we just lost all of it. And so the thing is, to survive, for a black man, you have to be hyper masculine. You have to be the most masculine of masculine, according to the white man standards. And to be feminine as a black woman means that you have to be peak feminine. Like, you cannot be X tall, you have to be the X small. You have to have these really delicate, tiny facial features. You have to be delicate and tiny. You have to talk in a very quiet voice. Like, you have to be the best of the best, or you are nothing. And the pursuit,
you have to be extraordinary to be treated ordinary.
Exactly.
Period.
And in doing so, it stripped us of, I guess, a concept of gender that aligns with us as people. And I think that getting that point across is always hard, because it's not saying like you're not like saying you have masculinity is not saying you're not a man. You're a man. Like you said, you're a man, period, point blank, cool beans. Love that for you. What does that mean though? And the take that we always have on it is usually something that we were taught according to a white patriarchy. Or we're taught like we're supposed to provide as men. Cool, who taught you that? Where did you get that idea from? You got it from here, where they teach that to all men. It's not a black man's masculinity. You just feel like you have to perform it best because otherwise, to keep you down, they will call you a woman. Conversely, I either have to be, I don't work, I don't do anything, I sit in the house all day, I take care of the babies, I only have two because I have too many, then I'm, some type of weird village savage thing. I have to be yay big and yay tall, and that is it, lest you will call me a man. And I think that we as Black folk perpetuate that amongst each other. I see a lot of Black men calling Black women, oh, like Megan Thee Stallion, body yaddy yaddy, but she's 5'10", so people are always like, oh, that's a man. Or like if a Black man does anything soft, it is Black women almost immediately jumping to call him a woman or a couple of like slurs or some other stuff. Like we, in our own discomfort with our inability to have a gender experience that we understand, that is actually on par with who we are, we use the same tools as the oppressor to go back and forth with each other. And so when I say we don't have a femininity, we don't really have a masculinity. Like I feel very feminine, but I'm 6 feet tall and people every couple of weeks are like, why aren't you on the basketball court? Why do you think I need to be there?
Whew.
Conversely, if my boyfriend is 5'9", 5'10", and oh my God, the things that my mom says about him being short and how he's probably soft and how he's a pretty boy. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, because we don't fit because of when we were stripped of gender, we now either have to hyper perform or we hyper attack each other. And I think we should just leave the whole idea alone, personally.
And not even that. I just thought of something. You have to suppress some of the things about you that make yourself great, but make other people insecure. So, you know what I'm saying? So that in itself is dangerous because you're having to pacify other people. You have to smother yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that's like, ooh, you know what I'm saying? It's just,
I hate it.
That's, oh my gosh, man,
a lot of
girl.
To 100% be secure in yourself. Like it takes a lot of confidence. It's something I'm not even good at all the time, but I do have my days where it's like, this is what I look like, this is who I am, and I cannot be torn down. And I will have like 48, 72 hours of that before I'm like, dang, that sucked. So it's a constant fight, and I admire people who can do it and do it consistently, because that's a gift.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Like I have the tools to do so, but I'm kind of like a Game Boy with like the batteries, but the battery pack to secure the batteries is not secure, so the batteries fall out.
So I'm just falling apart sometimes. I'm just like, dang, gotta pick up all my pieces.
You gotta put some like saran wrap, but you can't seal it too tight because you gotta change the batteries out. It's
it's a lot. It's a work in progress.
Absolutely. So this is something that I wanted to talk to you about because you and me have talked about this a little bit when we're talking about like our faith and how that aligned. I would say like because our Blackness is not separated from our faith. When we're talking about, having a sense of faith, or better yet, being disciples of Christ or being Christian. I think you said you grew up Baptist, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, a while back. I don't know whether to congratulate you or feel sorry for you at the same time. I don't know. I grew up in Pentecostal circles, and by grew up, I meaning 19 to 25. So it could be like, yeah. But absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about how people don't realize that though being in churches or clerical spaces, evangelical spaces, that should be the one place where you, as just an individual period, should feel the most safe. But it's actually quite the contrary. Being a person of color, being black, but being a black woman. You and me talked about this, and you were like, I don't know if I should be saying these things to you. You could be upset. I was like, what? For what? What am I gonna say? You know what I'm saying? Your experience is your experience. Talk to me a little bit about how you've had to reconcile your faith while recognizing, because your Blackness is not mutually exclusive from who God created you to be. Talk to me a little bit how you reconcile your faith while being Black in America.
I think the hardest part has been separating my faith from the church, but it's not because I don't like church. It's
Can I be honest with you? I don't like church.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
keep it a
like
beanie with you. I don't like because you know why? Because Jesus didn't need a building to be Jesus. That's all I gotta say. You know what I'm saying? So
and I think it's the institution of religion is something that I have a hard time with for a list of reasons. Like anything from the way that we use it to start wars, the way that we use it to put other people down, the way that we swear we're all right when we're all alive and no one really knows. But if you look at all the religions, because I did take a lot of religion courses, they got a lot in common. So I'm like, how you gonna yell at me? Especially like the difference between Christianity and Islam. They're practically neighbors. I'm like, bro, why are we beefing with our closest cousin? I don't understand. Like the biggest issue is literally a language barrier. So besides that, I have a hard time with church, and I think it's because of the people. And what I've noticed about some church folk, and it's definitely not all, but growing up, it was a good amount of church folk. There's a certain super strict adherence to the misinterpretations of the Bible that make us weirdly catty, and kind of it's like, oh, I am holier than you because I go to church every single Sunday. I've never missed a Sunday. And so that gives me the right to speak on you. When it's like, I don't come every Sunday, but I'm here today. So why are you bullying me right now?
Right. Like the devil don't go to church with you every Sunday. Like
the doors of the church are open. Anybody can walk in. So why are you yelling at me right now? And I think it took a lot of just coming to terms with that. Like my relationship with God and the universe and all of those things needed to be a clean break from the institution of church, because some of the people just weren't as kind as you would expect them to be, because they felt like they could be unkind in the name of the Lord, because they felt like they were right, because they believed in XYZ interpretations. So as somebody who does identify as bi, I haven't come out to the church, and I don't know if or when I will, because I don't know if or when I'm going back. But I do know that we have a gay pastor, which is pretty rad. It's not like a super big deal, but it's pretty cool. But like hearing other Christians talk about like the LGBTQ community and how it's a sin and all of those different things, and then learning that it's a misinterpretation and that the word was man should not lay with boy, and it was a comment on pedophilia. And I was like, dang. So not only are we condemning one section of the Bible or one section of people for not adhering to the Bible, when we still work on Sundays and eat pork and wear clothes of two different fabrics and all the other things they said don't do. We're holding people to this sin, even though Jesus died for our sins. And you mean to tell me the sin you're holding us to is mistranslated, and it's mistranslated for a reason? I had a really hard time separating the politics of religion from the way people held on to those politics, and then my relationship with God. And I really had to separate the politics of it and by proxy the people of it to really get back to my relationship with God. Because I was like, why are people being mean to me? Like, I don't understand. Like, I got my period in church once and people laughed at me. And I was like, why are you laughing at me? I'm a child. This is my third period in my life. And I'm in a church curled up in a ball, feeling like I'm dying. And you're laughing at me. And I'm supposed to want to be here. God made people who will treat me like this. These are the holy people I'm supposed to hang out with. Are you sure? I don't think I believe you.
Grandma Joe said, churches often do a horrible job walking and being an example of Christ, which is why so many deconstruct, because they look to others, leaders, to teach us truth rather than personally knowing the truth of the word, which is rarely in churches these days. Religion is horrible. I tell people all the time, like when people say, oh man, you're so religious, I'm like, watch your mouth. I am not a religious.
Don't you talk to me like that. It's like, why would you say that to me? And I think part of my, I guess, wraparound, because like when I was younger, I think I was like 16 or 17 when I was like, I'm done. I am tapped out. I'm done with church. I am done with God. I am done. And then maybe 6 months later, because then my sister went through her phase, and it was a very different brand of phase. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do what she's doing. I'm going to do something else. And so I started learning about other religions because I learned that it wasn't like I didn't love God. It was that I didn't understand. And I was hoping to see what other people might know better and what other people might be like. And so I took a couple of Hinduism classes. And I was like, the thing about India and Hinduism to an extent is that you can worship whatever and whoever you'd like and how you'd like. And so when I went abroad, like I saw like a church, like a Christian church that had a whole bunch of shrines to some of the Hindu gods, and people walked up and some people listened to the sermon and some people went and did their own thing. And in the independence of it, I was like, okay, so I can love God the way that I choose to love God, in the way that we have conversation, without it needing to be like some public display where I get to be holier than you because I didn't even read a book. I had somebody else read the book to me. Okay. So when I figured out the independence of it, I got really into astrology, got really into like spirituality in the universe. And then my current thing is learning how the two really intertwine and how it's not up to interpretation, but how they kind of all blend together. And so I'm okay with not knowing the answers because I know that God and the universe are one and the same. And so my prayers look more like manifestations, but I'm still praying. I'm still talking. Those two are still interlinked. So I call myself more spiritual now, not because I'm not Christian, it's because I'm not Christian exclusive anymore. So I just call myself spiritual.
And not even that. I think people also, I think what we got to remember at all times is you are Christian. Better yet, you're not supposed to, if you are going to, label yourself as a disciple of Christ, it's to Christ's standard, not pastor so-and-so, not deacon so-and-so, not big mama so-and-so, you know what I'm saying? That like, yeah, she's got 400 years of recipes in her arms, but God, she's going to hell on a scholarship with gasoline drawers on, you know what I'm saying? And I think for me, and this is one of the beautiful things that like I've always loved about just you and my relationship is like grow up completely differently. You grew up in the church. I did not grow up in the church. But then we came to the conclusions like I didn't need, or better yet, I don't need the building to sustain me, because at the end of the day, I'm supposed to have a relationship with my God, not a role in a building. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't define me as a good person, because as we do know, I'm saved by the goodness of God. My works mean absolutely nothing. I could say something with my mouth, but my heart could be doing something completely differently. I could say I love all people, but then have a bias towards people that say are obese or say look a certain shade, fall into that sin of partiality, which in itself is sin. I think we need to, I think this what gets, what I keep telling people is like, we need to stop trying to be too churchy and we need to be more Christly. Lance came on here, Modern Warrior came on here 2 weeks ago. He said, I don't care if you're a Christian, are you Christly? And I'm like, I was like, for somebody that don't even know God, at least the one I know, like that says something. It's like, that should be the standard, you know?
Like, I think we forget a lot that Christ was kind and empathetic and not very showy and didn't wear shoes a lot. And like, he was a
man wore a cardigan and some joggers.
It's like, why you need to wear your Sunday's best to go to church. I hear ya. I see why, kind of. But at the same time, if I'm going, why are you yelling? Because last time I checked in, God wore a cardigan and Jesus wore a cardigan. So why can't I? I'm lost. And why do we judge people based on those actions, especially with the knowledge that if Jesus died for our sins, why are you yelling at me? And it doesn't mean like go be sinful. It just means like, if I make errors, why are you yelling?
Am I allowed to be human?
Right.
And are you going to love me when I'm being human?
Like, there's a loss of humanity in this super rigid, holier than thou-ness. It's like,
come on.
And it strips you of your own humanity. It's like, if you make a mistake, then you feel like you need to hide it from the entire world. But you don't, because you're a human. Like, you feel twice as bad as I do. And that's why you're being mean to me. And I'd rather us all remember that before anything else, Jesus was kind. And even if you didn't follow him, even if you didn't really care for him, he would still be kind to you, even if you didn't align. And I take that kindness with me everywhere I go. I'm like, I don't have to agree with you to be nice to you, to be empathetic, to care about you. I don't dislike white people. I actually have tons of white friends. Cool beans. But that's
no, you did not just say I don't dislike.
People always think I hate white people, like constantly, and I'm like, I don't hate white people. I hate the things some of y'all do. I hate the institution of whiteness. But with that in my pocket, a lot of white folk do things I disagree with. A lot of them. But I will never wish them. I will rarely wish them the worst. And if I wish them the worst, it's because I'm having a bad day, and I will be sad about wishing them the worst later. Mm-hmm. So I just carry that with me.
I think the one thing that we always lose sight of is, this is why, like, you know, I call myself Mr. Lead with Love, is we got to recognize, especially during this time, it is literally life or death during this time. Like, how I decide to respond, react, and interact with somebody literally can mean life or death. Like, I think of even like when Judas betrayed Jesus, he felt so much shame on himself. He was like, what I did was so awful, and he killed himself. You know, it's so easy. Like, if we talk about just how we treat one another when we just completely just screw up. Let's just say we just screw up.
Yeah.
How we decide to react, respond, and interact with them after they make this decision can literally mean life or death with them. And it goes back to like what we were talking about with men, when we were talking about, like, when we're talking about the patriarchy, when we're talking about even white people, you know what I'm saying? Like, and when I say white people, well, just the human experience, like, we cannot condemn people to a moment when life is never that short. Why shorten it by, and this kind of bleeds into my next subject, this idea of cancel culture. Like, it's so trash. Like, can we have accountability culture? Is that okay? Is that all right?
I've written some papers on that, because I guess my other job that I never talk about is that I write articles for this fun Australian magazine, which is really neat. And my first article was on cancel culture.
Damn, you just interesting. You know what? Australian magazine, like, that's not even something like somebody would lie about. But okay, Jordan.
Right. And the first article I ever wrote was about cancel culture and how I don't believe in it. It doesn't exist, and it just doesn't. It's not even like, and not even in that way where like not Republicans, but like more, I think it's right-wing people. I think that's the way it goes. Anyway, not the point. They're like, cancel culture means that you're just trying to like tear people down. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Who has been successfully canceled quickly? But what you're mad about is accountability culture. We called it cancel culture once, and now y'all are up in bunches about it. No one's getting canceled. If Dave Chappelle got canceled, he's making more money than he's made his whole daggone life right now. He didn't get canceled. We were mad at him for saying some really awful things about trans people. He wasn't really open to dialogue about it. That's unfortunately not canceling. Cancel culture is accountability culture, and we're not good at it. We're objectively very bad at it.
Whew.
So I don't want to hear cancel culture ever again. I know I will, tons, but like the idea of it irks me to my core. Because I'm like, who got canceled? J.K. Rowling said many transphobic things. Harry Potter is still at every bookstore in America. She's fine. She's just fine. No one's getting canceled. You're still here.
I think what it is, though, is it goes back to like partiality. I think like, this got people mad. And guess what? I don't care. I had so many people sign up for my Patreon just from this tweet, and a lot of them paid me $2 to literally only last 2 days with me. That's fine. I still got paid. But I put up a tweet, and I'll have to find it real quick, and I put it on my Instagram. And they didn't like what I had to say, but I said, we don't truly believe in abolishing cancel culture until we remove the very things that hinder ex-convicts from re-entering society to make an honest living without chains of them after release. The system in itself is modern day slavery. That keeps us shackled. We are never free. They did not like I had to say that. I said, y'all don't believe in abolishing cancel culture because you never allow people to redeem themselves.
You don't ever let people grow. That's my thing too. Like, we don't let felons vote. Why? They didn't stop being a person when they got out. So I'm a little unsure on that. We don't allow them to work. We don't allow them to grow. We don't allow anyone to grow. It's like, oh, Like, that's what I hate about cancel culture in a modern sense. It's like, oh, in 2010, you said the N-word. It was 2010. Unfortunately, all of you probably said the N-word. Now that it's 2021, what are they doing now? And how have they grown? Now, if there's no growth, we can talk about it. But if it was 2021 or 2010, let people grow and let people change. I can't cancel you for the person you were. I could cancel you for the person you are. And I can't conflate the two. There's a decade in the middle. Like, I am not the same girl I was in 2010. I was twig thin and very sad and wore thick glasses. I am not the same girl. Like,
see, the difference is I'm still twig thin. I wear thick glasses, and confidence is probably a little bit better. I don't know. I mean, I wear an orange beanie now, and I can't be stopped with this orange beanie. But that's beside the point. Thank you. I told people there's a spiritual activation when a black man wears an orange beanie, but we'll talk about that another day. But yeah, man, it's I think the thing that is wild is the human experience is not an outward experience. When I say this, I say, like, our life is not always supposed to be on display. Like, I do a work in me so I can function better, you know what I'm saying, in my blackness, in my manlyhood, whatever that means, in just my human existence. It's that you want me to kind of, or better yet, and I tell people this for myself, like, you know, I was an alcoholic by the age of 10, stopped drinking at 18. I'll be 10 years sober next year. And people will be like, oh my God, you did this. I'm like, you want me to speak on somebody that don't even exist anymore? Like, that person is dead. My gosh.
Like, the things I've been through, I saw a picture of myself because the last 2 years have been weirdly difficult, like, just really hard. And I saw a picture of myself from undergrad right before, like, I guess my whole world fell apart. And I was like, that girl's dead. I don't know her. I don't think I will ever see her again, except in these photos. She's gone. And so we can talk about her and the things that she did. And if she did anything out of pocket, I'm willing to, like, hear you out on it, but she's gone. And I will talk to you. Like, high school Jordxn was anti-abortion rights. High school Jordxn would get decked by this Jordxn, just banged in the face. But we don't know her anymore because I've grown and I've changed. So I think we should allow people the opportunity to grow and change. And if you don't change, then take action. But I'm like, and that's, I guess, my thing with white people and with men. I can't be mad at you for the system you grew up in. I can't be mad at you for the things you didn't know and the things that you do know. Like, if you were taught to be racist, I can't be mad at you for being racist as a kid, because that's what you know. And if no one taught you better, how can I help you? The thing is, now you're, a functioning adult learning new things. What will you do with the new information given to you? I can't be mad at any man for having a hard time expressing emotion because you were raised to not do that. How are you going to grow now that you're older and know that that's wrong? Know that your actions are leading to some terrible consequences. Now that you know, how do you go forward? And that's where I want to hold people accountable. I don't want to hold you accountable at 6, because at 6, you are a product of your environment. But at 26, maybe you know something new. Or at 26, maybe you still live with mom and dad and they control what's on the TV. And I hope you find some peace with that. But, like, maybe that's the environment that you're in. So at 36, let's check back in. Like, life is about evolving and growing. And I want to meet people where they are.
Facts.
But once I find you, pull it together. Figure it out.
Once again, and then going back to that quote I said earlier, you could be removed from captivity and slavery in an instance, but it takes a lifetime to get that removed out of you. I think we need to, when it goes back to, you have to humanize the human. It's like, bruh, some of y'all still chew on straws and bite and chew on ice, though it's bad for your teeth. But why? You still do it because you've been doing it your whole life. Can we really think that the human mind, when we're talking about habits, culture, cruelty like charity begins at home. So bigotry, if you don't know it to be bigotry, and even if somebody gives you the tools, or better yet, if you decide I'm not going to give you the tools to become a better person, how am I going to pin you to a cross for not becoming a better person? We need, like, I say that, and this goes for white people, men. This goes for even our own people, man. Like, I don't know how many times, like, when like people are like, man, you and me talked about this so many times. They're so dysfunctional. Look at their environment. If I'm not willing to take them out of that and give them something better,
like, not to put my partner on blast here, but he does some weird stuff sometimes. And for a while, I could not figure it out. I was like, why are you like this? Like, what?
Yeah, some of us like to send dry good morning texts.
His family. And now I'm like, it was inevitable, actually.
Some of us like sending dry good morning texts. And I'm tired of being judged by it, but it's okay. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But
yes,
I can't blame people for being products of their environment. I can hold you accountable for what you do with the information you have now that you're out. I can't, like, if you're like, yeah, if you're white and you're like, yeah, Black people are lazy and stupid and talk funny and da-da-da-da-da-da because my daddy said so. Okay, cool. Now you're in college. You've actually met a Black person. Congratulations. Hi. Let's reshape that schema that you have there so you stop being ignorant. And if you double down on that, then there's a problem. But I can't be mad at you first day out of captivity. No, I didn't expect you to be an anti-racist pro from the get-go. And in all honesty, I expect you to make some mistakes. It is what you do from that information that counts. And I think that's something that I talk about on my TikTok a lot is I have a lot of people in the comments who are like, well, how am I supposed to get it right all the time? And I was like, in all honesty, I think Black people could, and I will not say should, because I'm not going to tell us how to quote you, I'm not going to tell a cut how to bleed. So we can handle that as we choose to, but there should be an amount of grace given to people who are just now learning how to be anti-racist, because they didn't grow up the way that we did, and they didn't have the knowledge base that we have. That being said, you cannot respond to criticism with tears. If you make me uncomfortable and I tell you, your job is to not cry. Your job is to take that and do better, not to make me feel bad for telling you. And that causes a lot of controversy on my feed a lot.
Oh, yeah, I tell people all the time, I call them Tulsa tears.
Yes.
Tulsa tears,
yes.
Rosewood rants, all that. Like, it's just...
Who hurt you? Dang it, you hurt me. Why are you crying? You stepped on my foot and I said, ow, and now you're in tears. No, move. Watch where you're walking.
What it is I want to be able to disrespect you, gaslight you, be bigoted towards you in peace. But now you have disturbed my peace, and I feel like
and I need to manipulate you in peace. So how dare you not let me use you as I'd like to? I'll manipulate the situation so I look like the victim. Like that police officer who walked into that guy's apartment, shot him dead, and then cried. Girlie, that was you. That was you. He's in his house. Or the bird watcher calls the police on the guy, and now you're crying. Why are you crying? You came to his business with your business, and now you're mad that your business was in the way. You interjected yourself into this.
Not even that. As much as, can we talk about this? She choked the out of that dog with that leash.
Literally. I'm like, you so in his business, you willing to kill your dog off?
I thought white people love dogs.
Like, you hate me so much, you're willing to kill off a dog, a D-O-G dog? Out of your mind.
I feel like somebody don't give that dog a lozenge. My goodness. But in all seriousness though, I think it's I've had to, it goes back to, like, for myself, I've had to learn how to be kind to myself to be kind to others. I was just talking to somebody the other night when we talk about how people grow up in dysfunction but not know it to be dysfunction because they've never seen what functionality looks like. We have to, it goes back, my nuance, my niche is nuance, and my favorite color is context. If we're not willing to go to these people's houses when they come into our worlds, then I don't think we're ever allowed to judge people personally. Yeah. And I think that that sense of growth, though it is hard, it is very teachable, but it takes a work in you first before you can apply work to other people.
Yeah, I definitely had to learn how to not judge people based on where they come from. Like I have, for example, I have a professor, and I'm convinced that she's new to this whole like anti-racism thing. And she does things and says things where I'm just like, no Black person thinks or feels that way. You're making us look bad with this like new age thought you're having. I don't like it here. But then I have to think, oh, well, she's probably new at this. And so I shouldn't be as pissed off as I feel because she is doing her best, like objectively her best. And so instead it led to a conversation on why that is reductive and not progressive. Because like I had a classmate write about, I'm not going to tell you what it's about. That's their business. But it mentioned black as the night sky or something like that, just because the sky was black. And my professor was like, don't say that. That could be racist. And me and the other Black people in the room were like, is it not black outside? Okay. And I was like,
not even that. Some people be looking like the ace of spades. Like it just happens.
This is what it is. Like some of y'all are white as a sheet of paper, and some of y'all are literally black as the night sky. Unfortunately for this girl, she was not writing about people, she was writing about the sky. So we were like, respectfully, we see what you're doing. It is much appreciated. Don't do this to her, because that is not what's happening here. And that is okay that is what is not happening here. So don't make this weird. And so we had a good conversation about it. But like, I was very upset when she first said, when would you say that? And then I had to take a step back and kind of meet her where she was in her journey and kind of regroup. It's really about meeting people where they are and letting them grow. Like when I first met my therapist, I was talking about my dad, and I was like, yeah, he looks kind of scary. And she was like, you shouldn't say that about a Black man. And then she goes, I'm sorry, that's your dad. And I was like, I can tell you're new at this, and I appreciate the instinct to defend. However, that is my father, and he is scary looking. So thank you. And instead of being mad at her, which she expected me to be, I was like, nope. You are on this journey, and I appreciate you being here. I will not be mad at you for where you are on this journey unless you refuse to grow from that. Now, if she was like, you shouldn't say that about a Black guy, I'd be like, cool, that's my dad. Doesn't matter. You shouldn't say it. Then we have beef. But she was willing to grow. So I have no qualms. But it took me a while to get there, because at first I was like, that was a stupid thing. You shouldn't say that. Why would you say that? And you're the problem. And now I'm like, maybe you're not the problem. Maybe there is a problem we can solve together.
Mm-hmm. And this kind of bleeds into what I want to talk about next. You and me talked about this numerous times, because we grow up in this society, this patriarchal, anti-Black, misogynistic, sexist, whatever you want to call it, like this society that is so damaging. And we're talking about the Black existence. To nurture your Blackness means nurturing your brain too. Talk about how, and you can speak to your own experience as well, but talk about the importance of establishing, activating, and I would say like cultivating a sense of mental wellness for our mental health, because and how important that is right now of all times. And one of the things that I also want to, give you your flowers perfectly about when you were saying perfectly, and I think it's well deserved, is during like the Derek Chauvin trial, I remember you were like, hey, Black people, we already know what happened. We don't need to watch this. You know what I'm saying? I myself didn't watch any of that trial. I remember just because we were waiting for the verdict, I myself was like, I got to take a break. I can't do anything functional for like 2 weeks. And just how exhausting it is to just be us. Talk about the importance of mental health and why it's important to, if you're going to nurture your Blackness, you need to stop in and check in on your brain too.
Yeah, like your Blackness is your brain too. Especially because, like, yes, Blackness is phenotypical, but the construction of race is so mental and essentially, for all intents and purposes, made up that taking care of your brain means everything. And so I think it's incredibly important to nurture your mental health, and that comes in a lot of different ways. And so I think a lot of it is figuring out what you need to nurture your Blackness as like Blackness, like when you need to be around other people who just get you. Where do you go? What kind of community do you have? If you have none, how do you cultivate it? Do you start off with like an all Black plant group? If you're really into plants, I'm really into plants. Do you start off by an all-Black book club? Do you read books by Black authors? Do you watch Black people TV shows? Do you go shopping at Black-owned businesses? Like, where do you go to find that sense of community and look to nurture your Blackness in a safe space? And then you need, I think, because this is what I needed, something to separate yourself from Blackness, which sounds weird because you can never really separate yourself from Blackness, but you need a space to give yourself the permission to separate yourself. So for me, that's TV. And it's like anime. And I don't watch it. Actually, I watch it pretty often, but I don't watch it super, super often. But I make the conscious choice to not analyze the anime that I watch through a race lens. It's like, oh, I don't see any Black people in this, and I'm not going to think twice about it. I'm not going to. I'm going to take that thought. I'm going to put it down. Or it's like, hey, that's a really weird character or an anti-Black looking caricature. And when I'm ready to think about it with my race brain, I'm going to come back to this. But I need that to be off right now. And so I'm just going to give myself permission to let this go. Because what am I going to do about it right now? Work myself up, call the producer and say, hey, that was a bad thing you did back in whenever you made this anime. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give myself the grace to not engage. Or like, I'll go read a love story. Is everybody in the story white? Sure. But it's a book. I just picture that they're Black and keep it pushing. No one can tell me otherwise. It's my head. Or I don't picture them at all, because some people can't picture pictures when they read. I learned recently. Some people just see the words and really just...
Not even that. There was a long period in time where your boy was single and ashy. I don't want to read no damn romance book. I'm single and ashy. I listened to Hot Wings and Keisha Cole at 2:00 in the morning. I didn't want to...
or like find something. Like, I'm really into space. And so there's this science channel that I love called Kyrgyzstan. And like, it's like, if I just want to like zone out, I'll like do my hair and I'll watch like 6 Kyrgyzstan videos. Doesn't matter if I've seen them already. Doesn't matter if there's a new one. Doesn't matter if they haven't made one in 6 months. That's what I do. That is where I give myself permission to just not think. I learn about black holes and ant colonies and whatever else they're making a video on. And I am at peace. And then I can come back feeling recharged and rested. I also think it's important to take care of your body while you're doing it. I think a lot of people are like, take bubble baths, which is like, sure, take a bubble bath, do what you need to do. But like, make sure you're getting enough water. Like, make sure you're getting enough water. We oftentimes forget like the bare minimum in terms of like mental health, but I was super dehydrated the other day and it was actually making me like very sad. And I couldn't pinpoint it until my boyfriend walked in and was like, why are the lights off, Jordan? And I was like, I'm fine. He's like, you're curled up in a couch with a blanket in the dark. And so he just brought over a cup of water and it was like a flower. Like within an hour, I felt just better. And I was like, oh, I was very dehydrated. So like, drink lots of water, eat foods that are good for you. Like if you can get your hands on like a vegetable, just try integrating some of those. They're good things. People of color, especially because we are darker skinned, especially Black women, make sure you get your vitamin D. Like just go sit in the sunlight, go take some vitamins, eat a lot of oranges or something, go find it. Because that plays a huge role in depression in Black women, as well as weight gain, if you didn't know. Fun fact. So just remember that there's a very physical aspect of mental health as well. And then give yourself permission to make spaces where you are on and where you are off. Because I have lots of spaces where I'm on and lots of spaces where I am off. That's my tip.
Yeah, and I think there was something that you said very, very briefly, but I think that's super important too. Is it's funny, like you said this like you said this backstage, while we were eating hot wings and catching up. But you kind of touched a little bit about it. You touched about it just now in your little sentiments. Not little. I'm not going to minimize what you said. It was greatness. It's not good enough to just be alive. Taking care of the body in which that you live in too. That I think that's super important. Like you and me too. Like I was like, how you doing? You're like, oh, I'm alive. What does that look like though? Yeah. Are you respecting you while you're here? I think that's super important. Making sure you're getting enough sleep, getting enough water, getting enough sunlight. And then not even that, when we're just talking about the Black experience, like Black is not trauma. Black has trauma, but Black is not trauma. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to look at something and just be triggered all the time to be black. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's like, that's why James, like, I don't think people, though he's one of my favorite authors, James Baldwin was depressed as hell. Do you understand me? Like,
bro. And so I'm funny enough, I'm TAing an early African American literature class next semester, and I'm super excited about it. But they were so daggone sad, almost every single one of them, because they were surrounded by trauma. And so I think my big goal as a writer is we did the Black trauma, like Black art as trauma thing, and we've done the Black art as resistance thing with the Black arts movement, which I love and appreciate. And I think there's value in continuing, but I want to see Black joy in art. I want to see Black love in art. And so I write what I want to write when I want to write it about whatever it is. And so far, it's not about race too much, because my human existence is about there's race involved, but that is not all that I am. I have a boyfriend. We fight. Here's a poem about fighting with your lover. Oh, I have a mother. She gets on my nerves. Here's a poem about coping with your mother. Oh, I'm stressed about school, and I don't know if I'm prepared for success. I'm not afraid of failing. I'm afraid of success. Here's a poem about that. And I'm Black. And my experiences or like my perspective in writing this is shaped by my Blackness, but it is not a poem about being Black and sad. And I think that's important. And I advocate for more people to make art that way too. There is definitely value in both.
Absolutely. And one thing I wanted to talk to you about, and once again, you and me talked about this. Like for those that don't know, me and Queen Joel, we get deep when we talk. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we're kind of hitting a lot of things. But you know, one of the things I talked to you about was having to learn a lot of things, deconstructing not just only my faith, but deconstructing of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a son, what it means to be a brother, just being me. Talk to me about to grow in this life, meaning your life, the importance of breaking generational curses to establish some sense of your own legacy. You have to break away from your parents' legacy. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of fear that comes with breaking, because it's safe. You know, it's what you know. Without getting super into it, the love that I knew growing up from my parents was great, but watching them love was very tumultuous and at times a little scary. And they put up with too much from each other, in my opinion. They're fine now. They have aged and mellowed out. But as a youth, it was like living in a very early earth. There was a lot happening all the time. It was just a lot. And as I got older, I started dating. I was dating this guy who I really thought I was going to marry. And then I realized that it was also very tumultuous. And like, there were days where I was actively running away from him, like sprinting in the opposite direction, don't want to deal with you, kind of running away. And it was just very unhealthy in retrospect. And so we broke up when he started seeing somebody else while he was also seeing me, which was weird. But when he came back and tried to reconcile,
I like how you delicately just said this man cheated on me. Like, yeah, he did. But
yeah, he did. So that hurted. But
so we clearly need to pray for not only his mental health, but his eyesight, because who would cheat on you?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But I was like, you go, be great. And I
stop driving around at night, because you clearly have bad eyesight. That's okay.
Yeah, like I have come to peace with that. I hope that he is as happy as he can be. Like, I really wish him the best away from me. But when he came back, he texted me apparently for months trying to not get back together because he was still dating this girl, but he wanted me around almost like a backup plan. And I'd seen that before again and again and again in the relationships I had seen, not just with my parents, but just growing up around me as a Black woman in my like family line. And that was the day I had to choose. I was not going to be in that position. And I put my foot down. I was like, no, I cannot continue a relationship with you. We cannot continue to speak. It's either her or it's me. And to be quite transparent with you, I'm gonna let you keep her. Have a good day. And we have not spoken since. Like, we just don't. It's been like at least a year. I don't know what he's up to. And it was hard. And I carry that into this relationship. There's a certain amount of tumultuity. I don't know. There's a certain amount of chaos I will not put up with.
We're looking that up to see if that's a word, but it
There's
is
a
today.
word
Why
for
the
it,
hell
but
not?
I'm not sure if that was it. But like, I won't do it. And I worry about being alone, and I worry about not having somebody to love and not having somebody who loves me that way. And it's terrifying because I grew up in such a romantic, love-centric household. And so in response, I put a lot of energy into loving my friends, and building a different kind of community around me that is not centered around one person and being willing to do anything for that person. Like, I have boundaries, and I have said, I'm like, if these boundaries are crossed, we are done, because I am not perpetuating this chaos. I am not giving my kids this burden to bear. It ends with me. But in ending with me, that means I'm doing a lot by myself, which is scary. Like, getting an apartment was something that, like, the women in my life didn't do. They got married, and if they got an apartment, they got an apartment with their husband. I wanted to move out, so I moved. But it was something that my mom was like, I've never done this as a solo act before. I don't know how to help you. And my grandmother was like, I certainly did not do this as a solo act. I cannot help you. And then my great grandmother was like, I can't even see you. And I don't know how fond of you I am. I can't help you. So it was just me. And I mean, she helped, my mom helped, and my grandmother helped as best as they could. But there are parts of this that they just don't get. And so it's just me. So it's weird. That was a really long way to say it's necessary, because there are traumas I will not pass on to my kids. I will not do it. I won't put myself through it. I'm not going to put them through it. But it means I'm doing a lot at 23 that I never really thought I'd be doing. Like, I really thought I'd be like married with a kid at this point when I was younger. And now I'm like, whoa, what if I was not like everybody else in my family and did not do that? So now I'm doing other stuff, like getting my master's, and I don't know what comes after that, but something.
It's I said this the other day when I was interviewing Black Girl Warrior. Shout out to Lieutenant Peanut Butter, by the way. I said, that's our nickname. That's my nickname for her. But it's something I said on that podcast, and when we were talking about generational curses or generational trauma, is it ran in my family until it ran into me. And you have to be the deciding factor to know it got to me, but it's not being bypassed through me. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get through it. It's not going to go through me, though. You know what I'm saying? And I think that is important when we're talking about trying, while advancing in life, growing, elevating, sometimes having to do the hard work in your 20s so your 50s are easier, and it's not even so much it's easier, it just doesn't look difficult in the way that it looked difficult for our parents.
Exactly. Like, I'm gonna have a stable, healthy marriage by the time I'm 40, or I'm not being married.
Say that.
Like, I will sooner divorce you than drag us both through the mud to be better. You either figure it out, or you're leaving me alone. And there's no in between. I am not doing this to myself, and I'm not doing it to the people I love after me. And it's not to belittle the things that the people before me went through, because without them, I would not know so much. And I have so many great things from them willing to put up with too much. But there are other great things that could be gained by different struggles. So I will pick a new set of struggles for us to learn from. Yay, learning. Like working, so like living, having an apartment, paying rent means I have to work in a way that nobody else in my family has ever worked. Like, I work around the clock, and my family's always like, why do you work so hard? And I'm like, because I have bills to pay. And they're like, well, we can help you. And like, they can, but like, I need to be able to do this independently so that if something goes wrong when I'm older and I am alone, I'm not afraid of being alone. I'd rather be alone and afraid when I have people who love me than to be alone and older and truly alone. So I'm going to give myself the tools now while I have you guys as a safety net, as opposed to waiting until I'm 50 and my husband dies, and then I'm confronted with a new set of challenges that I wasn't ready for. So
yeah, I feel that.
Appreciate them for that, but
You got to. It's and you and me have talked about it's also we and I can't remember. Oh, Joe Lumen. I'll have to send you the interview I did with her because she dropped so many gems there. It's that reparenting yourself and loving on that child within you so you can have a healthy adulthood. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot of inner child work is really interesting because I haven't really gotten into it in terms of like a spiritual thing, but I'm learning what that looks like. Like I'm learning like my inner child work sometimes looks like dressing up like a fairy on the weekend and making content because that's something I wanted to do when I was little that I could have done, but I took the outside world too personally to do it. Um, and sometimes it's, hey, like you had a really unhealthy relationship with food when you were little because of A, B, C, D, E reasons. To fix that about you, you're gonna have to set up some boundaries to some people that you love and care for. And it was hard, and it's still hard. But like to heal little Jordxn so that I am a functioning older Jordxn, I gotta do some painful stuff. Like inner child work is not just eating ice cream for dinner. It's like setting some hard and fast rules and having conversations with your mom about what it was like growing up. Like my mom one day asked me, she's like, Jordxn, why are you so depressed when you were younger? And I was like, I tried to tell her for a while. And I finally was just like, Mom, let's have a chat. And like, we really got into it. And she was like, I had no idea this is what this was like for you. And I was like, I needed you to hear me for so long and you didn't, but you're hearing me now. And that's what counts. And it was like a little piece of me that always felt like I needed to be heard was finally met. And I was like, okay, I'm good. Actually, I'm great. Like we have had a great relationship kind of since that day. Because she finally heard me. She finally heard little Jordxn. And so I was free to go do other things. It's really nice. Might fire my therapist. Not going to do that. Gonna keep her. But we're making growth is the story.
Yeah, I need my therapist because there's some days where I'm like, everybody in my life sucks, and I need somebody that doesn't have a bias against me to kind of listen to my problems. You know what I'm saying?
I had a big issue the other day, a big relationship issue that like wasn't really an issue, just something I needed a third party for. Because like on one hand, I had my best friend, and if I told her about it, she'd be like, leave him. And I was like, no, I don't think that's the way we should go with this. And then I asked my sister, who would do anything to stay in love, and she's like, oh, just put up with it no matter what it is. And I'm like, wrong again. So I told my therapist, I was like, hey friend, here's a problem. What do we do about it? And she said, from an unrelated third party, I think you're thinking too hard. And here's what to do when you're overthinking like this. Let's look at the evidence in front of you and do something with what we actually know and not what we have overthought ourselves into thinking. And I was like, I needed that because otherwise I would just simply be a bonkers human being for 2 more weeks.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. We're heading towards the end of this program, and which means that you have had time to prepare. You have had time to prepare. This is usually where I have like my quick hitters where I ask you either or, you know what I'm saying? Where I ask you this or this. Are you ready for the quick hitters with me, my sister?
Bring it on.
All right. Pringles or Doritos?
Doritos.
Okay, so you like eating chips that comes in a bag full of air. I understand. You like empty promises. I understand. I can't. They're not even the sweet chili ones. Like no. You gotta get.
Nacho cheese is my favorite.
But the sweet chili. Never mind. I'm not. The black experience is not a monolithic experience. That's fine. Pharrell or Kanye?
Pharrell. Kanye be saying too much out of pocket things for my comfort.
Yeah, he just. I don't know what it is. That red hat stage. I
can't get past it.
The same man that said George Bush don't care about black folks. Put that hat on.
Winfrey was more or less a choice. I couldn't.
He said Harriet Tubman ain't free no slaves. I was like, what? Yay.
I just want to find some peace, man. When he finds some peace, we can grow. Because I don't believe in cancel culture. I just need him to figure some stuff out. Yeah. And whoever is cutting his hair, or he apparently cut his hair this time. I don't know if you saw the Drink Champs interview last night. I did. It's not his haircut made my dyslexia hurt. That's besides the point. Her or Solange? Solange. I don't have a good reason. All right. I appreciate that. Jasmine Sullivan or Keisha Cole? I don't really listen to either, but I see more Jasmine Sullivan. Like I literally just see her more, so I would pick her.
Okay. Step away from people for a second. Starburst or Skittles?
Starburst. Actually, sour Skittles over Starburst, but if it's regular Skittles or regular Starburst.
Okay. If we had like a versus of like Skittles to Starburst, who would win? Like, bring your best songs, Skittles to Starburst. Like, what would you have to say?
I would say sour Skittles, in my opinion, beats the pink Starburst, but the pink Starburst beats everyone else.
See, I was more of the red Starburst guy. I don't know if I was weird for that, but
I like how sour the red Starburst is. I like to eat them together for like a sour sweet combo.
I just don't like this. Maybe this is me. Maybe as I've gotten older, my age, I don't like. I do not like sour candy because it feels like after a while, like I open my mouth and it feels like the Fire Nation attacked like certain parts of my mouth. It like erodes the insides of my mouth. I don't know.
It will do that. Especially the sour Skittle will cut you up. It will grate you.
And then if you bite the inside of your lip, it's over. It is over.
That's the game.
Oh my gosh. I forgot who I said the other day. I know I had somebody. Yeah, that joint. That ain't it, comrade. That ain't it. That ain't it at all. Warheads too.
Warheads slap, bestie. Warheads are so good. I think it's because I'm allergic to chocolate, and so God let me compensate.
You're allergic to chocolate?
Yeah.
Damn.
Caffeine. And so God compensated by letting me have a super high sour tolerance. So
that's awful. You know, I met a brother that's allergic to corn.
That's tough because corn's in a lot.
You know how many things have corn syrup?
Yeah, like my life is actually not that hard, but that's a hard one.
Oh my gosh. I was like, oh, hey, yo, I can't. That's wild. Genuine or Tyrese?
Tyrese. I think I know that name more. I'm not really great at people. I'm not going to hold you.
You don't know who Genuine? He made Pony.
That might be all I know by him then.
But he also made So Anxious.
I'm only 23. I don't know, man.
You're really that much younger than me. It's wild. You're a whole presidential election younger than me. That is just wild to me. I can't.
I was like, I don't know. I was like, when did Pony come out? Literally 1992. Like, I don't know.
Pony, you can throw on Pony anytime nowadays, and it still slaps.
Oh yeah,
some Tyrese songs are aged.
I know the name Tyrese more, but I can't tell you a single song either one of them did besides Pony. Now that I know.
Okay, so Pony is by Genuine.
Cool. Tyrese
made Why You Gotta Act Like That. You know what I'm saying?
Well, in that case, I'd pick Genuine.
Okay, cool. All right.
Knowledge, I know who to pick.
Gotcha. You know what? I haven't thrown this one in here before. Nike or Adidas?
Nike. I don't know why we're a Nike household, but I think it's my sister's obsession with Nike, so we just ride with it.
Okay. All right. This is I feel like I'm going to get canceled for this. All right. Mary J. Blige. Okay. Mary J. Blige or Jill Scott. I said it.
I think I'll have to go with Mary J. Blige because we listened to more of her in the car growing up.
Yes. Jill was there though. Jill was there.
But my mom really liked Mary J. And I remember that. Like a little bit of a foundational memory.
Can I say one thing though? Their acting, both of them, slept on. Both of their acting, like
big facts.
Yes. When Jill Scott was the bad guy in Black Light, I said, she's so mean. Oh my gosh. And then Mary J in Power Book 2. I'm like, good God, not you, Mary. You had me crying like a little boy. Like I thought something was wrong with me the way that woman had me cry so much. Then she out here, shooting people in the face. Talk about stop being a B word. I'm like, not you, Mary. You told me I could cry when I was a kid.
That's what we call range, ladies and gentlemen. Range.
Yes. Oh my goodness. You're going to a concert. Opener, mid, closer. Who's performing? Any genre, any artist, dead or alive.
Okay, I got this. Megan Thee Stallion's opening. I've always wanted to go to Beyonce concert, so Beyonce is the middle. And then I always want to see Paramore in concert again, so I'm gonna have Paramore close out.
I've never seen Paramore. I'm still very upset about that.
I saw them. I went to Monument Tour back when they were touring with Fall Out Boy. Best day of my life. Cannot think of a better day.
Can we agree that Fall Out Boy sucks now? Can we agree?
We can agree. Which hurts my heart because I want to love them still. But I'm like, dang, y'all have really strayed from the point.
Yes. Y'all fell off. You know what I'm saying? And I just no. Top 5 MCs. East Coast, West Coast. What you got for me? No specific order. Seriously? Okay, fine. I'll because the Black experience is not a monolithic experience. We'll go with singers. R&B singers. East Coast, West Coast.
R&B singers.
R&B or just singers in general. You don't gotta be rappers. We'll go with that.
Singers in general?
Sure.
Beyonce, Megan Thee Stallion, Haley Williams.
But Megan raps. Does that count?
That's fair. Does she ever sing?
I don't think so.
I mean, she sings a little bit, but she don't really sing. So Beyonce, Haley Williams, Taylor Swift. It's a hot take. I love her a lot. I love her a lot. Rihanna, can't overlook the queen. I got 2 more. I'm trying to think about the music that I listen to, but I just listen to a lot of like Doja Cat and Ariana Grande lately. I'll put Ariana Grande on the list. I'm not putting Doja Cat on the list. Because I associate her more with rap than anything. And God, I guess Renee Goldsberry. Yeah, that'll be my list.
All righty. I'm gonna save the good one for the last one. 5 people at dinner with you, dead or alive. Who's at this dinner table with you? And you know what? Because you all up in a relationship and everything, your man can be there too. You know what I'm saying? Your partner can be there too. So you, your boy, 5 other people, dead or alive. Who's at dinner with you?
My grandmother, who passed away before I was born. My grandfather, who passed away a couple of years ago. They were not married, separate sides of the family. My living grandmother, because I think she'd like to see my grandfather again. Who else do I want to have dinner with? I think I'm just going to bring back all my dead relatives. I'm going to bring my Uncle Coot and then my best friend Taylor. Because they're all dead. I miss them. And there's nobody like super powerful I just want to see unless I'm throwing hands. That's not really like dinner time conversation. You feel me?
Oh man, and I'm ready to make everybody on the internet mad all over again because this one people actually like. Somebody signed up for my Patreon just to tell me I'm a piece of this is terrible. That's hilarious. You paid $2 to cuss me out.
That's so funny.
Missy Elliott or Janet Jackson? Yes.
God, I guess I'm gonna go with Missy Elliott, but it's only because I don't think I could do without her part in 1-2 Step. I don't think I could do without it.
You wouldn't even have people like Jasmine Sullivan, Keisha Cole, Sierra, as you just said.
Yeah.
Her fingerprints is everywhere in music.
God, but so is Janet's. Like,
I know.
Hallie just dressed up like Janet Jackson the other day.
I know. I like.
For that.
Look. This is the one time I wanted to persecute a black woman on screen. This is the second time, actually. I'm lying. So you ain't gonna be the last one. I promise.
That was tough. That was a tough one.
Not patting the mane. You're patting the mane. I can't. Oh my goodness. And for my last question, if you had to see anybody on the Kid Casper podcast, who would it be? But your answer has to be somebody you can help get on here, essentially.
It's Indigenous Heritage Month, so we could reach out to my friend Hruna. She's super sweet, and I just like to hear her talk. And we could also reach out to, she's not Indigenous, but Chelsea Hart is a friend of mine.
Okay.
And I think she'd be pretty cool too.
All right.
So those are my homies. I think those are my favorite social media friends. I feel bad saying that.
Damn.
You're not on social media.
Damn.
We're actually friends. That was dumb.
I was about to say. I was about to be like, because we met through social media. I don't know, and you don't talk to me that much anymore. So I feel really insecure. I'm sorry.
I'm trying not to drop out of grad school. My best friend the other day was like, "Can we get dinner soon?" I'm like, "You want to eat dinner?"
I'm literally waiting for you to text me first so I can send you a dry message back. I'm waiting to do it. I
will put it on my to-do list. I keep putting to call my mom on my to-do list, and I just keep not crossing it off. She's like, "Do I ever see my daughter anymore? I live down the street." I'm like, "You can come to my job where I work."
I want everybody to know that Queen Jordan not persecuted me. She held me accountable. You know what I'm saying? She's like,
I did hold him accountable.
She tried to. She said, I was like, yeah, I got yelled at for sending a dry good morning text. She said, yeah, what is wrong with you? I was like,
no. Tell the story. So he usually sends his girlfriend cute emojis, sunflowers, good morning, beautiful, like good mornings, like the kind of I love you kind of good mornings. All of a sudden, he's sending this dry good morning.
First off,
she panics because you're deviating from the norm.
Hold on, bro. Let's kick it straight here. I was wiping the crust with a K out my eyes. You understand me? And then I just happened to just say good morning. Like I didn't even say, you want to be real with you? I didn't even text. Like I told Siri to text her. You know what I'm saying?
That was your mistake. You needed to wash your face, get some water, recalibrate, and then hit her with a beautiful good morning with full consciousness.
It's not my fault that woman did. So what was I supposed to do? Tell the woman to send emojis?
Yes. Tell her good morning.
I can barely get you as a woman to listen to me. You want me to get an electronic woman to listen to me? Are you serious right now?
Absolutely. You better be consistent or you're going to hear from me. Yes, Maya, that's the gospel.
That is not gospel.
From the norm for me.
Nah, bro. I don't want to hear that, D. I don't want to hear that, B.
We be scaring folk. Are you dying? Are we breaking up? What's wrong?
She did call me too. She called me. She said a question. She did a question mark reaction to my text. I was like, what is happening right now? And she's like, are you okay? Thought you was mad at me. I'm like, nigga, I just
the text sounded mad. Pull that from over here. You scared folks.
That is such garbage. That is such garbage. Ah, sweet baby Jesus. That ain't even close to right. Yo, that that's bullshit. Anyway. Anyway, let's try to wrap this up. First off, my sister, thank you for accepting my invitation this morning. This was fun. I love talking to you. I always tell people, like, they're like, oh my gosh, Queen Jordan, I'm so there's so many people. That's why I say you need to humanize people. They're like, oh my gosh, she seems so amazing. I'm like, she is amazing. Wait till you actually know her though. You know what I'm saying? She like just the like this didn't even feel like I'm interviewing somebody. This is just me having conversation with family. So this was good. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? You're pulling my baby hairs through my screen on my podcast.
You left your baby hairs unprotected.
It's a bit disrespectful, but that's fine.
You send that text right, and I won't have any baby hairs to grab.
You know what? I don't even want to hear that because you don't even text me back some days. I asked you how you was doing, and I got left on red.
That did happen, and I'm very sorry.
Yes, it's all right. It's okay. It's all right. I just held you accountable on the interweb.
As you should. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So if you try to act up in private, and you really not that far from me. You a 5-hour drive. Like you just don't do it.
That's
don't
not even
that far. Anyway, my sister, this was good. This was good, not only catching up, but just being able to engage with you in the style of hermeneutics. I'm happy that you are getting your education. I don't know how I feel about a Black woman getting something called a master's degree. Personally, I'm a little intimidated and scared. But if there's anything that you are working on in the future products, projects and everything like that, campaigns, whatever it is, or if there's anything you want to raise awareness for, and you'd like us to highlight, and let us know about, now is the time. What you got working on, what's working for you, and what do you want people to pay attention to?
I'm not working on much. I think I'm starting to baby draft my manuscript that will be due sometime in the far future, like 2 years from now. That's kind of about it in terms of like personal projects. Besides, TikTok, where y'all can always check me out on TikTok. But I think more than anything, as it is Indigenous Heritage Month, I just want us to really take the time to amplify Indigenous voices and think about how Indigenous people are also not a monolith. They're actually everywhere in the world, and they've suffered a lot. So when you're at Thanksgiving, eating all your food, take some time and just really honor and acknowledge all of the Indigenous people that have been traumatized, and just uplift their voices, help where you can, follow the homies on all social media platforms. Just really, especially this month, but all the time, give them their flowers and hear their voices. So that's my, when I figure out what to do for Indigenous Heritage Month, I'm going to do a whole thing about that on my TikTok. So stay tuned. It'll come someday, hopefully today.
Yeah. And there's something that you said there, and I say this to people all the time. Like me, and this is a spicy take. I celebrate your life every day. I don't need your birthday to celebrate your life. You know what I'm saying? Right. I'm going to love my partner daily. I don't need Valentine's Day to tell me how to be extravagant and be romantic. Just be intentional. I'm going to wrap that up for you. Be intentional in just loving somebody, affirming somebody, and just treating them like a priority daily. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Don't wait for it to be convenient to be caring. That's it. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, my sister, thank you for coming by this morning. You already know you welcome back here anytime if you want to get in some good trouble with me, or if you got something coming up in the works, and you want to amplify, if you got a project or something. People have revolving one-on-one interviews with me from time to time, so it's all good. But yeah, that's good. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. I will be back later with Molly, you know what I'm saying, owner of Lion and Lamb Apparel. I'll be back here at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Always remember, you are beautiful, blessed, and beloved. Raisins don't go in potato salad. By the way, Queen Joy, I don't know if you and me have ever talked about this. Have you ever put mayonnaise on peas?
No, baby.
No?
Not.
How about avocados and condensed milk?
So no for me, dog. It's a no for me.
That ain't it, right? I be telling people all the time. Raisins don't go on potato salad, and Jesus wasn't white. Have a good night.